Parshas Ki Sisa Shabbos Parshas Parah. Okay, I told everyone I'm not going to say anything about my voice tonight. Everybody wants to know, but Lamaisa, Baruch Hashem, Siyata Dishmaya, come here to be Kachaylim, and everything feels better. We're ready to go, and believe it or not, Purim is behind us. And before you turn around, here we are. Pesach is coming, so maybe over the next couple of weeks, we're going to try to mix some Pesach into the Shiurim, especially when we get to Parshas Chodesh. But in the meantime, this week, Parshas Ki Sisa, Parshas Parah, and anyone who learns Nesivos Shalom knows by now that we can never get enough of talking about and learning about and living Shabbos Kodesh. Everyone knows that. Nesivos Shalom, Baruch Hashem, in the 16 plus years that we're saying this year, anyone who's been with us knows that there are certain themes that are gigantic to Nesivos Shalom. And one of these themes is Shabbos. And in our Parsha this week, among the other things, first we speak a little bit about the Kiyar and the Mishkan, and we continue speaking about the Mishkan and the Kalim of the Mishkan. And then the Torah goes off, after telling us about Betzalel, how they built the Mishkan, the Torah goes off and speaks about Shabbos. And the Pasuk says the following, Ushmartem es ha-Shabbos, Ki kodesh hi lachem. You should keep Shabbos. Why? Ki kodesh hi lachem. Shabbos is kodesh. Shabbos is kedusha. And what does that mean? So the Mechilta tells us that this pasuk is teaching us that Shabbos is what adds kedusha to Klal Yisrael. Shabbos adds kedusha to every yid. And the Sefer HaKadosh, Nesivos Shalom brings down, the Sefer HaKadosh, Reishis Chachma, he brings from the Zohar on this pasuk that Shabbos doesn't just add Kedusha to every Yid. Shabbos is actually the root of all Kedushas in this world. And any Yid that endeavors to add Kedusha to their life, as we know, the Torah tells us, Parshas Kedoshim, Kedoshim Tiyu, you should be holy. So every Yid wants to add Kedusha, wants to add holiness to their life. How do you add Kedusha? Says the Zohar, anyone who wants to add Kedusha should begin with Shabbos. And I think for the first time in 16 years, we're actually going to take a little drink during the Shia, and we made a bracha before. And we used to eat cholent during the Shia. That stopped. But now, Baruch Hashem, we have water. So anyone who wants to add Kedusha into your life, start with Shabbos, because Shabbos is the wellspring of Kedusha. So Nesivos Shalom says, it's kedai to dig a bit deeper and get a little deeper understanding of this concept about the Kedusha of Shabbos and what it could do for every person. The Tanat Ve'Eliyahu in Perek Chof Vav says that there are three Kedushas. One Kedusha is the Kedusha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The second Kedusha is Kedusha of Shabbos. And the third one is Kedusha of Klal Yisrael. And the Tanat Ve'Eliyahu says that these three Kedushas are actually all one. They go under one umbrella of Kedusha, and they're all considered one. And we know, how do we know that each of these things are Kadosh? We know, Legabi Kedusha of Hashem, we say every day in davening, V'ato Kadosh Yeshet Kilos Yisrael, that's Kedusha. For Shabbos is our Parsha, Ushmartem es ha-Shabbos, ki kodesh hi lochem. Shabbos is Kedusha. So we covered HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Shabbos. And for Bnei Yisrael, for Klal Yisrael, it says Kodesh Yisrael Hashem. Klal Yisrael also referred to as a Davar Kadosh. The word Kedusha is used for all three. So Nesivos Shalom asks, on this, Tanad Ve'Eliyahu, Nesivos Shalom asks, how do we understand when we say that all three of these things, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yisrael, and Shabbos, how do we understand that they're all one Kedusha? I mean, think for a second. The Kedusha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is on a whole totally different plane, different level. How do we put together the Kedusha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu with Kedusha of anything else in this world? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we know, Kaviyachal, of course, is in his own place. How do we compare anything to the Kedusha of Hashem? So the Sefer Ma'orei Nayim from the Chernobyl, thank you, Rabbi Bro, from the Chernobyl in Parshas Ki Savoy, he says something beautiful, and he explains, how do we ever understand Dveikus B'Hashem? We all talk about V'atam Adveikim, Hashem Alekeichem, Dveikus B'Hashem. Every person is trying to cleave to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to come close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How do we understand Dveikus B'Hashem? How can a person connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Because people, by definition, are very limited and they're confined. People are confined to time, to space, and other constraints, whereas HaKadosh Baruch Hu is totally boundless. There's no boundary to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So how do you connect? How do we have Dveikus B'Hashem that a Yid, a human being, can profess to come close and cleave to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Okay, so how is Dveikus B'Hashem accomplished? How do we go about that? So it's precisely for that reason, says the Ma'orei Nayim, it's precisely for that reason, and listen to this, you're gonna feel different. You go into Shabbos tomorrow night, you're gonna feel totally different. For that reason, says the Chernobyl, that Hashem gave us the Shabbos. Shabbos is the medium that connects and ties a Yid to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And he says it's definitely true that it would be impossible for us as human beings to connect to Hashem. How does a human being, we're so constrained, we're so finite to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that's boundless, and how do we connect to Hashem? It would normally be impossible to connect to Hashem. Says the Chernobyl, it's only through the koyach of Shabbos that we can accomplish that. What a powerful koyach Shabbos is. And that is how all three, says in the Nesivos Shalom, Hashem, Shabbos, and Yisrael can be considered one Kedusha, because Shabbos is like the, for lack of a better way, Shabbos is the peanut butter, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kaviyachal, is on one side, Klal Yisrael is the other side, and when you bring Shabbos, you bring it together, Shabbos sticks it all together. And this is our pasuk that says, Ushmartem es ha-Shabbos ki kodesh hi lachem. We're telling a Yid, keep Shabbos. Why? Ki kodesh hi lachem. You keep Shabbos because through the Shabbos you attain the high levels of Kedusha. That's how you bring the Kedusha of everything, the connection between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael. We say in the davening every Shabbos, Ata kidashta es yoim hashvi'i, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you were mekadesh, makdish, the yoim hashvi'i, lishmecha, tachlis, maasei shamayim ba'aretz. What are we saying? We're saying that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who created this entire universe, who created this entire world to be mative, to do good for us, to do good for people. Hashem created the world to benefit creation, as we say in the Tefillah, Yes, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created it in this world, in this Olam Hazeh of falsehood. Hashem created the Shabbos. Why? To give us something so very special, but not to give us the Hatava. Hashem created, He gave us the Shabbos, Tachlis Maaseh Shemayim V'Aretz, not to give us Hatava, not to give us the benefit of Gashmias. And like we always say, it's a wonderful thing. All the meat boards and kishka and fish boards, herring boards I think we have today, everything board, as long as you're not bored on Shabbos. You're never bored, there's always another board. And there's always full of beautiful Gashmias things, but we have to understand that's not the Tachlis Maaseh Shemayim V'Aretz. Hashem created the Shabbos to inject us with that special Kedusha and to benefit us, to be made of us, to give us that special injection of Ruchnias. And that is Shabbos, and that's what Shabbos does. And when the Pasuk in the Navi says, Oz Tis'ana Gal Hashem, it's talking about not your stomach, it's talking about your neshama. Oz Tis'ana Gal Hashem, when you understand that you take the Shabbos to connect HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael together, because how else are we supposed to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? We have the Torah helps us, Avada, but the Shabbos is what brings us together. Hashem showed us on this world, by giving us Shabbos, Me'ein Olam Haba. Hashem showed us what the feeling is of connecting with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Me'ein Olam Haba. That is Shabbos. Shabbos is the beginning, as the Zohar says, the beginning and the root of all brachas in this world and in our lives. So now, especially this week where we read about Shabbos in the Parsha, when we come to the Shabbos, when we come to this Shabbos, you're going to come tomorrow night, every one of us should have in mind that when we come to Shabbos, we should feel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We should feel the Shabbos pulling us closer and bringing us closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So when we do sit by the Shabbos meals, and when we do sit in shul, and when we do sing L'cha Doidi, we feel the Oz Tis'ana Gal Hashem, that the Shabbos is bringing us together, bringing together our neshama, connecting us to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that is how every person should know that every Shabbos now, going forward, we're going to think about this when we go to Shabbos, and we're going to feel that special connection to Hashem.